First Take is presented by Bass Pro Shops.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for being with us here on First Take on this Friday Eve. Stephen A. Smith is in New York City. Skip Bayless and Molly Qerim here with you. Gentlemen, good morning.
What's up? What's up? How y'all doing?
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm in the house.
Well,
ready to roll.
You are in the house, sort of, but if I could show you this, I brought you a present today. Can you see it?
What? Oh, my goodness. You got me a present?
I brought you a present. Of course, it's empty. It's a prop, because that's what I think of you.
Wow.
Oh, there you go. I was getting ready to say, well, actually, that is a low blow.
But I just had to set you up for that.
It is indicative of you because every time we go out to dinner, I'm always treating. You never pay, so it makes sense.
That is such a lie on national television. That is the biggest lie ever told.
Where's Ernestine?
I must say publicly.
He did treat last time.
But I will say this. Last Christmas, Stephen A. Smith bought me an unbelievable present.
Really?
I won't tell you what it was, but it was unbelievable and generous. But he owed me about 8 Christmases, but that's okay.
When you're making that paper, you know, you can do things like that.
I made up for it with that one gift.
You did.
Oh, it's going to be one of those shows, people. It's going to be fun. Let's get into it. The Warriors continue to live up to their name, improving to 25-1 last night with a win over the Suns. Klay Thompson scored 43 points, and Draymond Green had his 4th triple-double of the season. What's even more impressive is both sat in the 4th quarter. 27 of Klay's points were in the 3rd alone. Skip, how impressed were you by Klay's performance?
Stephen A. Smith, I want to be very clear about what I am about to say. In no way, shape, or form am I intending to disrespect my favorite player right now in the NBA, Steph Curry. But I do think it's time that we pay more respect to his running mate, his co-star, the guy who doesn't get quite the shine that Steph does. And most nights, that's apropos. But once again, last night, we saw Klay Thompson, who on any given night, this is my premise here, on any given night, when I sit back with all objectivity, I say, wait a second, are you sure that guy isn't an even better shooter than Steph Curry? We have already ordained, we have crowned Steph the greatest long-distance shooter we have ever seen. You say it, I say it, everybody says it. We've never seen anything like this. The game is being revolutionized from distance by Steph Curry. Now, he obviously has the ability to create his own threes, which is never before seen. But on any given night, when I watch Klay get hot-handed, I'm saying timeout. Are we sure that just as I'm doing this in a vacuum, Stephen A., as a catch-and-shoot three-point shooter, are you sure that this guy, this Klay guy, isn't even better than this Steph guy? Because when he gets a hot hand, I've never seen anything like it. As far as the quickness of release, just his catch-and-shoot. Now, he doesn't create his own like Steph does. Make that clear. But when he just catches it and shoots it in rhythm, his release, to me, looks even a millisecond quicker than Steph's release. It's just a little flick of the wrist. I've never seen anything like it. And once he gets going in ways Steph has never quite gotten it going. Remember, last year, in 1/3 quarter, Klay Thompson broke the all-time record for scoring in a quarter held by George Gervin and Carmelo Anthony, which was 33. You realize that Klay last year had a 37-point quarter in which he hit 9 out of 9 threes and 13 of 13 from the field, because he can shoot those mid-range, man. He's deadly from mid-range jumper distance and always makes his free throws. That's no big shock. But last night, he just easy scores 27, only 4 out of 6 threes. And we've seen Steph do it before. He's had a couple of 28-point quarters. He's had a 24. He's had a 14-point quarter. I'm sorry, 19-point fourth quarter. So my point to you is, in the big picture, just in a vacuum, when I watch these guys objectively, there are nights when I feel like Klay Thompson can get even more hot-handed than I've ever seen the best shooter ever get, and that's Steph Curry.
Well, what I would say to you, Skip, is this. If you put it in a vacuum and you're talking about just catch and shoot, you can make an argument that he's on the level of a Steph Curry. I don't think anybody could say that anyone is a better shooter than Steph Curry because he's the greatest we've ever seen. And 1 or 2 games this season from Klay Thompson doing what he did doesn't supplant Steph Curry from those laudables, from that title. But they're called the Splash Brothers for a reason. And if you remember, Skip, on several occasions over the last couple of weeks, I pointed out how folks keep forgetting about Klay Thompson because he was only averaging 18 points. When Steph was making his surreal run, you know, just cementing himself as the reigning league MVP and champion en route to back-to-back situations in both categories, I reminded everybody that Klay Thompson averaging 18 points a game, shooting 47% from the field, shooting 44% from three-point range. This is a brother we haven't even talked about because of the greatness of Steph Curry, when Klay Thompson is clearly one of the great shooters in the game of basketball himself. A matter of fact, it is my belief, Skip, that if Klay Thompson had played Friday against Boston, they would still be undefeated because they would have beaten Boston without needing double overtime, which means they wouldn't have been exhausted against Milwaukee, which means they would have beat Milwaukee on Saturday. Yeah. So I look at it from that perspective. Klay Thompson is an elite shooter. And what's most egregious about his falling under the radar is at the fault of this very network. And here is why. His daddy is an employee of this company working for ESPN LA. His daddy was an NBA champion himself. So you're a champion, plus you work for this company, and somehow, some way, we let your son fall under the radar, even though he's one of the elite shooters in the game. There's no explanation for it. Michael Thompson, our apologies. Here's what it comes down to. Klay Thompson is big time. He's a big-time scorer. In terms of a vacuum of catching and shooting, he's right on the level of Steph Curry. But he can't boogie on you like Steph Curry. He doesn't have that kind of handle. He can't dance on you like that. And he can't shoot off the dribble the way Steph Curry can, particularly from the long range that Steph Curry can. You do have a point when you highlight it in a vacuum. Catch and shoot, spotting up and shooting. Klay Thompson is right on the level of Steph Curry. Undeniable, without question. However, overall shooting ability, no. He's not Steph Curry, as Steph Curry proved in the whole three-point shooting contest, even though that's catching, you know, or grabbing and shooting.
Grab and shoot.
Bottom line is, Steph Curry is a better shooter than Klay Thompson. But Steph Curry would be number one. We can make a legit argument that Klay Thompson is the second best shooter in all of basketball. We can make that argument, which is why they're the Splash Brothers.
And maybe the second best shooter in the history of the NBA. Seriously, I'm serious. I've seen enough already where, I don't know, it's so close between Steph and Klay on any given night. Now, again, look, we all know Steph is a more consistent, great distance shooter than Klay is. I'm talking about when Klay gets hot. I've never seen anything beyond Klay. I don't know anything. I mean, I'm sure there are random guys we could bring up, but.
Well, let me tell you where my position is with that. Steph is clearly number one. When we talk about Klay Thompson, number two, throughout NBA history, we've seen some great shooters, the Craig Hodges of the world, you know, the Reggie Millers of the world, the Ray Allens of the world, Ricky Pierce to a lesser degree. I remember Dale Ellis. These are names that a lot of people wouldn't know. I remember downtown Freddie Brown from the 70s.
I got to throw Larry Bird in there.
Of course, Larry Bird. Of course, well, I'm thinking Larry Bird, all-time great, period, in all facets, not just shooting. But I'm just saying to you that there are a lot of great shooters throughout NBA history in terms of catching and shooting. We've seen no shooter the likes of Steph Curry with his overall offensive repertoire basically highlighted by his long distance range. We haven't seen that, but in terms of spot up shooting on an elite level, we have seen a Klay Thompson before. He's elite. He deserves to be in that category. You could make a legitimate argument that he may be the best. He's clearly, as far as I'm concerned, the number two shooter in all of the NBA behind Steph Curry.
He is.
You can throw Kevin Durant up in there as well. Kevin Durant is no joke. We know this. But Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, to me, is the greatest shooting backcourt I have ever seen, and Steph Curry is the best shooter overall I have ever seen.
Okay, and to my point, do you remember down through your years of covering this game, a release, I'm talking about catch and shoot release, any quicker than Klay Thompson's flick of the wrist? It barely touches his hands and it is gone with a flick.
But Ray Allen's release was pretty quick too. Ray Allen's
we should have put Ray Allen up in there. Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's
Ray
fair.
Allen's release is pretty quick. Yeah.
But
that's where I'm at.
To your point about ESPN's own Michael Thompson, the daddy. Do you remember the night at the finals when you and I happened to run into Daddy in the hallway of the hotel in Berkeley, California? Yep. I was struck, and I've known him for a long time, but I was struck by how humble he was about his son, and maybe that speaks to the humility of the family. It's not like Michael's out there beating the drum for his kid, you know. He doesn't. He doesn't. He lets the kids perform and speak.
But we should, because of how great his son is, and because his father is one of us.
Yep.